I'm back, and I'm here to talk about Conan the Barbarian. But one of the easiest gateways into fantasy. You don't have to worry about complex magic systems or huge, sprawling, grand epics like The Lord of the Rings, or for example, The Wheel of Time, which I love. The Wheel of Time. I'll do a separate video of all 14 books at one point down the road. But Conan is a very simple character. Not simple and like, oh, this is so simple and boring. He's like the typical barbarian. He despises magic. He's afraid of it, to be honest. And I legitimately think the movie did a great job of that. And if you want to get into Conan, there's multiple different ways to do that. You can go through the Marvel comic route. You can read the original stories, which cover a lot more. There's multiple anthologies of Conan. The difference between this and something like The Lord of the Rings or anything like that, Conan never really gets an origin to him in the books. But the movie gave him one. And the books never really mentioned Crom, his god, in the film. But it's an easy gateway, I say. I mean, he's one of those characters that are so strong. Like he in one of these stories, he's an old man. Like, minor spoilers, he becomes a king. And these two guys attack him. He's on his own. And he fends them, both of them, off by himself and kills both of them. And you might think, oh, he's a big stupid man, big stupid strong. No, he's actually clever. He's a lot smarter than you would think he is for someone that looks like this or this. When you see Arnold Schwarzenegger in this getup, you think, oh, big strong man, not very smart. But he is, and this book comes in at a total of 452 pages, compared to your grand epic fantasy that spans over multiple books, like The Wheel of Time, for example, 14, which comes in at 814 pages. I would say this is a great gateway. You start with something simple, you learn a lot of stuff about fantasy and such. It doesn't even read like something that's that old. It reads pretty well if you're accustomed to stuff like Tolkien or like reading some of the older language. But it reads really well and really decently. I would say I enjoyed this. And if you're interested in more, there's tons more anthology, and there is one official book that Robert E. Howard wrote. I think it was called, I'm blanking on the name of it, which is kind of funny why I got Robert Jordan up here exactly, not just for an example of sprawling epic fantasy. He actually wrote some Conan books, like 2 of them on his own. So if you're a fan of Jordan, you could look into that. Or if you want to read something like Conan with a bit more world building and meat on its bones, I would recommend Robert Jordan's first novel, The Warrior of Altai. The character's very much a Conan-like in that book, but I'll get to that eventually. But I would definitely recommend it. If you want a good gateway to fantasy, or if you're someone that's read a bunch of fantasy and for some reason haven't read Conan the Barbarian, I would recommend this baby. Next book we'll be talking about, I guess, will be whatever I feel like, because I've decided I'm probably going to tackle each Wheel of Time book on their own because there's so much to go over with each individual book, and I haven't technically finished the series yet. I would like to dig into that. But Conan, highly recommended. I would recommend reading this over watching this. But if you want to get a little taste of what the character's like before you jump into something like this, I would recommend watching the first film. Don't watch the second film. It's not that good of a movie. And then jump into one of the short story anthologies. They're pretty short, in all honesty. You can get a collection of them on Audible, and they're between 20 minutes each to an hour, depending on the short story. It's well made. It's a good book, and I would highly recommend it.